Good morning. It's Lisa with Lisa Heal Yourself. And today I want to talk about your personality. What you're like. What are your traits, your characteristics, who you are, and how does that relate to your chronic illness, chronic pain, chronic health condition that you can't break through. So this is an interesting question because I'm going to take it in a different direction that you've probably never heard before. And it's an interesting direction, so stick with me. Stick with me here. So first we're looking at how are you? Who are you? What traits do you have? What characteristics do you have? And how do they relate to maybe what's going on right now? So if you're in the TMS world of healing, you've probably already heard things like perfectionism, people-pleasing, these are classic traits. Controlling. These are classic traits, personality traits of somebody who has pain or any chronic illness. So you might say to yourself, you can just jot these down. I'm filled with shame. I'm filled with guilt. I have a fearful personality. I have a controlling personality. I have a perfectionism personality. I like to be in control. I'm scared of everything. I feel judged, I feel criticized, I feel defensive, I feel protective, whatever it is, you're going to jot down and make your big list, right? This is how you live your life. How do you live your life? What is your world view? What are your characteristics? What are your traits? What are your views on the world? How are you made up right now, the way you are with this chronic illness? And then I want you to ask an interesting question. What was I like when I was a child? Okay, what was I like before this illness? What was my personality trait like in my early years? Maybe you realize I was carefree. I was happy. I was, maybe you had a terrible childhood and you were super fearful or super quiet, shy, scared. Or maybe you were really outgoing and social. Maybe before your illness, you were social, you were trusting, you were naive, you were carefree, you had a beautiful feeling about the world around you. Maybe you never did. So this is very interesting to look back, sort of pre-trauma, post-trauma, pre-illness, post-illness, pre-symptoms, post-symptoms, right? And then you can also, if you've had a long, if you've got childhood and then you've got your illness or your trauma that's later in life, then you may ask, how was I as a teen or an early adult, right? As I was finding my way in the world, once I left home, how was I then? What was my personality? What were my characteristics? And what were the ways I viewed the world? Did I trust? Did I protect myself? Was I open? Was I closed? Was I social? Was I shy and scared? Did I believe in happy endings or didn't I? Right? These are important things because you might have the same personality trait. Maybe you were always controlling from a child to an adult to pre to post symptoms. But maybe while you find that some of your personality traits stayed the same, some of your views changed. Maybe, because I know for me before, I believed in happy endings. I was social, I was outgoing, I valued family and friendships. And then after, I didn't feel safe in the world. I didn't believe in happy endings. Right? And then my world view changed. So it's interesting to notice that just because one thing is the same doesn't mean everything is the same. So the important part here, or the part I want you to get to, is once you make these lists or once you have this meditation or thinking session in whatever way is comfortable for you to do this, I want you to sit down, think about it, and then decide where you left yourself. Meaning, where did this split, right? Hey, Michelle. Good. Where did the split or the fragmentation happen? So where did the split or the fragmentation happen? So Maybe before you were a person who believed in happy endings, and then post-trauma or post-illness, you were a person who did not believe in happy endings or happily ever after. Maybe before you were social and outgoing and wanted to participate in the world, and post you were shut down, you didn't believe in happy endings, you weren't social, you didn't want to be a part of the world, right? So once we find those splits on pre and post, right? Pre-trauma, post-trauma, pre-symptoms, post-symptoms, whatever. Once the before picture and the after picture of your life, you'll find that there's a split. There's almost like two different yous. Well, I used to be like this, but now I'm like this. And once we find those splits, that's the key. That's where the fragmentation has happened. That is part of the fragmentation that needs to be healed. That one aspect of you, or that one personality trait of yours that you lost, is asking to be called back, right? So it's like one became dominant and one is still there, but it became repressed or lost, right? We don't look at that aspect of ourselves anymore, and now we view it with this aspect of ourselves. They've both always been there inside you, but it's a matter of which one's dominant and which one you're looking at your personality and your vision of the world through. So once you determine that, you're going to say, that's where I have a split in who I am, a fragmentation in my actual soul, or the core of my being. And then you can definitely figure out how to balance those two, how to bring some back to yourself. And go ahead and watch some of my videos on fragmentation and calling aspects back to yourself. I've done some recent videos about these, so you can see how exactly to start that process and how to do it. But I wanted to say this is another way that we can find where exactly we've been fragmented, where exactly we've been split. And once we find that, then that's how we figure out where and how we need to become whole again. I need to become a person who's open enough to believe in happy endings again, or to trust the world, or to be social, or to trust people, right? Or to whatever it is that your thing that you lost, we need to integrate that back into your life so that you can become whole again. And maybe that's going to be where the work is. So you sit down and you meditate around that, you journal around that. When triggers come up in daily life, you sit with those feelings of inadequacy and judgment and whatever it is, and you sit with them, but you still continue to put yourself out there in social situations or begin to trust again. So I hope that this has made sense, and I hope that you can see that it's about becoming whole again. How you become healed is about becoming whole. And if you can start to see you had a pre-personality and a post-personality, you had a view of the worldview, and you have a post-worldview. You have characteristics and traits and relationships pre and relationships post. And once you find those splits, those dichotomies, those places where you've changed, maybe not for the better, right? So then you would integrate those. So you would call them back, you would do the healing work around that, you do the fragmentation work around that, you would do the healing work around that, right? You do the journaling around that. So I hope this video has been helpful today, and I will see you in the next video.